Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Harach HaKodash. Double honors be unto the apostles and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well and taught us this 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful who like to push not this word of thought, truth, and sincerity. To all you Akim say Shalom. I am the accurate. I am from the servants Yahweh Yahushai. Cam coming in with a quick lesson. About how the Lord won't suffer us anymore, to be constantly in the fire, being oppressed by the heathen, suffering these atrocities against our people and things of that sort. We'll finally, be able to experience what it's like to be at rest, So this is the book of Isaiah, the 54th chapter, verse 5. It reads, "For thy Maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. The power of the whore shall he be called. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth, when thou wast refused, saith thy power. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee." Alright, with great mercies will I gather thee. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. And yeah, there's, throughout history, the Lord will forsake us for some moments. And, like an example, this captivity that we were in, we lost our heritage, we lost our identity, we forgot who Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai was until this truth sprang back up around 1969, 1970. And over time, the Lord just started bringing in the Akim. Alright, whether, they heard this word, they were already on the scene, and they heard this word and came into this thing, or, the Lord was still just waiting patiently until he could bring the next batch of brothers from the spirit world onto the scene, because a lot of us are really young. But it goes on to say in verse 9, "For this is," and this is the point right here, "for this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth," which, that was a covenant, that he would not break. All right, he made a promise that he will no more flood again the whole earth. And that's why in this time he's going to destroy the earth through a thermonuclear destruction. I have created the wizard to destroy, so he's not going to bring in the rains to, flood up the whole earth and drown everything out, but, burn it with fire, a fervent heat. But just like how the Lord kept his word, to not flood the whole earth, which is why you have the rainbow, the Lord will no more, torture us. Because it goes on to say, "For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee." And one thing to note is that whenever Jake would just go off, it could be at least once, for example, the Lord immediately carries out that judgment. Although we all know that the judgment of the Lord is not instant, no sin shall go unpunished. Eventually the Lord, will have your demise, set up to your demise. But most of the time, it's always Jake getting messed up, man. And whereas you see these heathen out here prospering, and they're not even the Lord's chosen. The scriptures go into how they are as nothing to the Lord. And then why do they have lordship, man? Why do they have rulership over us? Why do they get to eat octopus, swim in a pool of feces, shower in camel's piss and whatnot, kill unjustly, beat the shit out of our people, and still be blessed, man? The manifest destiny was an example of a reward from the Lord to the enemy, to the heathen. Because the Lord literally gave the fairness, of, this country to Esau, man. And with that came a lot of, rape, robbery, murder against our people. So how is it that we get messed up? The Lord puts a spirit upon us to go off, and then he curses us. But he puts a spirit upon the heathen to go off, and he doesn't curse them. That's a vexing thing. But that's why we understand ultimately deep down it's a part of the just balance. We have to receive the worst of the worst, only to receive the best of the best. That's why I brought this precept up, because it makes the mention, "So have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee." You see? So the Lord's about to, cool it down once and for all against our people. and everything will be all fine and dandy. So this is the book of Jeremiah, the 29th chapter. And I'm going to start off at verse 10. For thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you, and causing you to return to this place. Which, that's talking about the ancient Babylonian captivity, which was a fulfillment of prophecy for back then, because after the Southern Kingdom served about 68 or so years, they were able to return back to the land and build up the second temple. But you could also apply this verse to this date, because America is actually Babylon the Great, and that's pursuant to Revelation, the 17th chapter. And to add on further, you could apply any of these the titles of these ancient cities, ancient kingdoms, ancient empires to America, because America follows in their footsteps. All right, Revelation 11th chapter, verse 8 made the mention, the great city shall be spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Sodom for its perverseness, because right here you got transformers and whatnot. You could be, they promote the idea that you could be whatever you want to be. Now you got men, that sex change, with their OnlyFans, and it's completely off, man. And it's also Egypt, because it's a house of bondage. Egypt translates a house of bondage, and we're in captivity. Back in the early years of America, we were in hardcore captivity. You had Southern Kingdom working out in the fields, or if they had the privilege, they would be able to work in the house. All right, back for Northern Kingdom, so this Gad and Reuben, they would be huddled over the reservation sites, and even if that were to be accomplished, Esau would kidnap a lot of our people and send them to institutions to be educated, learn the English language. And with that being said, you had a lot of Gadites getting killed. They got tortured. And there's other history, about all the, we all face atrocities. All the tribes that face atrocities from the damn devil, man. Esau. So, with that being said, we understand that as long as Esau is in rulership, in power, we'll stay in captivity. So when America gets destroyed, all right, through thermonuclear destruction, that'll be our ticket out of here. That'll be our way out of this bitch, man. So going on, it says, in verse 11, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. To give us an expected end, and that's through the form of the kingdom. And with the kingdom being established, and us, ruling over it, and actually over the whole universe, if you will, everything will be all fine and dandy, as it says in the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, in verse. Actually, I'm just going to read it from the top, for the verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and will set them in their own land, and the strangers, which those strangers are talking about, the Israelites that didn't know that they're Israelites, but then, came into this thing. And that's actually all of us, because back in the world, we didn't know that we were Israelites. We're all strangers, man. You cannot say in this captivity that that you were an Israelite from the beginning, unless you were born to some of the Akim that were already in this truth, if you're a little brother. But most of us, we found out that we were Israelites later on in life. So it goes on to say, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their places, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. So those people in this verse, now it is talking about the heathen. They're gonna be our slaves, because when it goes into that word servant and handmaid, serving is a politer term, a nicer term for saying slave, because you're gonna serve us. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over the oppressors, man. And who's the oppressor in this society? Esau's, man. So with that being said, the tables will turn. And that is the hope that we so have. So going on in verse 3, it says, and it shall come to pass in the day that the Lord shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve. Because, that's exactly everything we experience in this place. This place is hell. I thought Don was supposed to be a place of beauty, of pleasure, a joy, paradise for man. It ain't that. It's nothing but the sorrow, bitterness of Akim are so bitter, man. When you vent, when you got Akim venting to each other, and they just start going. You could see the bitter spirit that they have, man, because we're so vexed, man. We're so vexed. So they shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage that was made to serve. And that hard bondage doesn't just start and end with Esau. No, it's a long road throughout history. Hey, because if you really think about it, the origins of the Israelite nation really, began in Egypt. Hey, it really began in captivity. The first captivity we had to go through was Egypt. And that's because you have to realize that when our forefathers, when Jacob and his 12 sons were on the scene, there was about 70 of them that sojourned to Egypt, and they stayed there. And then that's where they increased. Now that's where they increased. That's where we came on the scene, So about 70 of us, went over there, and we increased to the hundreds, to the thousands. Now we're millions. We're billions, actually. See, so, the origins of the Israelite nation was really just a hard bondage. After we came back we got delivered through the Lord, and through the conquest, we took over the cities, and we inhabited them. We took over our land, and right after that, right after Joshua and then Caleb both died, the wicked generation came out, and then we were subdued by the Canaanites. Then was the Moabites, and so on and so forth, man. So on and so forth. Or even the Philistines. Hey, it was out of the mouth of Jake that told Samson, does not ye know that the Philistines have dominion over us? And that was in Samson, the book of Judges, the 15th chapter. Correct me if I'm wrong. So all we lived throughout history was just constant, oppression, constant bondage. But it'll finally be the tables will finally turn after this captivity. This is the last captivity. The book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter, verse. I'm gonna start off at verse 7 or 6. Shepherd with me, Akim. All right, verse 7. It says, "Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth." Now that's a division between two periods in time. And verse 8, "And he said unto me, from Abraham and Isaac, and when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau," which that makes the birth of Esau and Jacob back in Genesis, the 25th chapter, more significant now, because it had a meaning for future tense. Verse 9, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." Esau's the end of the world. See, so this is the last captivity. And when it says the end of the world, they ain't talking about, a meteor blowing up the entire earth, and now we got to go in the chariot and, be taking a Kepler 12b, whatever that. No. It ain't talking about us moving planets. No, it's talking about the same earth. But rather, a different rulership, the end of heathen rulership. And the commence of, who are meant to be in authority. As the scriptures say, in Sirach, the 10th chapter, "The Lord shall set over one that is profitable, and that is Yahushai, and underneath them it'll be us." And because we'll also be kings, joint heirs with Yahushai. So we're going to be ruling in righteousness and in order, because we're going to be in those spiritual bodies. You see these heathen, they're nothing but mortal, corrupt people. That's how a lot of the societies fell down, through that. And actually, it is from corruption. The whole, that's a key word right there. That's what caused each and every single demise of every single kingdom to stand upon the earth, because of the wickedness. So we're reading it again in verse 9. "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." That is the hope that we so have, man. And Esau cannot defer us. You cannot defer us, from that. It's what's that one word? It's really burned into our minds, seared into our minds. So this is the book of Isaiah, the 51st chapter. Verse 11, it says, "Therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return." And those redeemed are talking about the Israelites, because that word redeemed meaning to buy back, to bring back. And the Lord's about to bring us back through the chariots. "Therefore the redeemed of the Lord." And that's why when you go into Isaiah the first chapter makes the mention. We should have been at Sodom and Gomorrah if the Lord hadn't left us a remnant. So it'll be through us that we're going to be brought back, and the whole nation shall increase from there. Therefore the redeemed of the Lord shall return and come with singing unto Zion, and everlasting joy shall be upon their head. Everlasting meaning eternal, infinite. And you have to realize when we finally receive rest, we're going to receive the best of the best. We're going to receive immortality, you know? And it's going to be beautiful, everlasting. We're going to live infinite years. You know, the heathen who are prosperous on this side will continuously die within 80 years or whatever, which actually we understand that under our rulership, their life expectancy will, flourish. Say living 105 years, as you got all these old folk live, which that goes to show you that those people that live, 100 years, they live the full life, The Lord bless them with the full life. And, it kind of sounds like a propaganda video, not like vote for us, because that's basically what it is. We're telling you all the benefits that's going to happen under our rulership. As the scriptures say, when righteous and authority, the people rejoice. But going on, verse 11 again, it says, an everlasting joy shall be upon their head. So we're going to be joyous, man. And sorrow and mourning shall flee away. With that bitter spirit that we all have, when it's a man, it's gonna, we have to embrace our women, and he will have it better, because compared to us right now, in the atrocities that they committed, a lot of the atrocities that they did were wicked, man. Were wicked. And we're not going to do them because we're going to be perfected, so there's no point in doing that. It really makes it void and makes the Lord a man that he should lie. That ain't the case, man. If we're going to be righteous, we're going to not do the same things that they did. So, the Lord's going to switch our bitter spirit, our sorrowful spirit, and put a happy spirit in us. And, we'll not be conflicted anymore. And we'll accept it as what it is. So they shall obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and mourning shall flee away. Hey, sorrow and mourning shall flee away. That's what we want, man. That's what we want. And actually, I'm gonna get the book of Baruch, the 2nd chapter. And because just for the hell of it, going into the promises, it's supposed to be a comforting video. So Baruch, the 2nd chapter, verse 34, says, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which that land inhabited by the 40 acres, that land is inhabited by the heathen right now as we speak, which goes to show you that a country is by its people. It's not of the land by the people, something along those lines. It starts off with the people, something like that. I forget the quote. But, Israel is not Israel right now because it's inhabited by the heathen. Israel really begins with us. And when we inhabit the land, everything will all go back to the way it was, That'll be the headquarters. That'll be the land of Israel. Not only that, but we're going to have an expansion pack, that being the Fertile Crescent, the entirety of the Fertile Crescent, which is the best of the best plot of land, the best soil in the entire globe. So, and they shall be lords of it. See, I promise, and I will bring them again to the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, which will show that the Lord does not break his promises. He still remembers these. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. Yeah, because with immortality comes us not dying and having to reincarnate. So when you have all 3/3 of the nation of Israel back on the scene, what's going to happen? Hey, new spirits will come in. All right, new spirits will be created. We're just going to multiply. Multiply to infinity, actually. Which, 1 verse 35, it says, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. See, so the Lord will no more pour the spirit upon Jake to, go off, and then the Lord, vomits, it's like the Lord kills us out, because the scripture is going to how do not defile the land, for it shall vomit you out as it spit the nations before you. Because when we were given the power to subdue these nations during the conquest, that was because they were doing some wacky-tacky shit, man. Offering the children up to Molech and whatnot. Hey, the same, tribal customs you see these Hamites do are the same, are similar customs that they did back in the ancient world, back in the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. You know, which before was known as the land of Canaan, because it was inhabited by Canaanites, Hivites, Jebusites, you know, Hivites, all them cunts. But yeah, the Lord's no more gonna put the Spirit upon us to go off, so there'll be no need for us to get kicked out of our land. So, you know, again, it says, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. You know, that's the credit scene, and it's like that's the last scene, you know, before the credits roll in. And talking about post-credit scenes, actually, the post-credit scene would just basically be a random scene in the kingdom of us, you know, rejoicing. All right, but I just want to do a quick lesson going into how the Lord will you know, the Lord won't suffer us anymore. The Lord will finally bless us. So hopefully this lesson was edifying. And to the next one, I say shalom. And actually, as a spirit, you know, the lesson ended on 4:41 p.m. So call Halayim Yahweh Shemel Shai. And, you know, Lord will we get delivered and experience the kingdom once and for all within this year. Shalom.